Yukai, wait, really quick. What do you think about my pajamas?
I didn't even notice them, but they're cool. I think they're
Festive, man. It's this
yeah,
time of the
yeah, they're Christmas
season.
themes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love it, man.
I was
Okay,
paying
so
attention to your face instead of your shoulders and your chest.
so I got the new backdrop. I'm really excited to start this. What's up, everyone? I'm here with Yukai Chow. We're just going to be talking about some things that are interesting to us. Hopefully, it's interesting to you. We'll talk about business, about startups, what's happening right now in the culture. And you know what's happening right now in the culture? Every time I look at Twitter, it's about Twitter and Elon Musk. That's it. It's just Twitter and Elon Musk. And you know what? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Today, we're going to talk about why do people hate Elon Musk so much? I have my thoughts on this. There's so much going on right now. Yuka, I want to give the floor to you to start it off. What do you think is going on right now with Elon? It feels like more and more people are hating him. You know what? One thing I want to start with is, we were in the Bay Area. I was in San Francisco. Now I'm in Southern California. And so many of my friends, so many of my close connections hate Elon Musk. They just hate him. And it's not just like, oh, he's a billionaire. I know there's that whole group and we can talk about them. But it's not just them, because these people are professionals, they work hard, they own a home. Many of them even own a Tesla. But everyone seems to hate him. What's going on, Yukai? What do you think?
I think it's, especially in California, I think there's I think it's connected to a lot of the left versus right kind of discussions. And there's this woke culture. So first of all, at least this is my opinion, right? And I've been following Musk for a long time.
Yeah,
I read his
our
bio,
opinion.
and I know him. I kind of follow his story as he grows up. I'm from South Africa myself when I was little, and I believe that Elon Musk, first of all, he obviously is a very successful business person, right? As a human being, he's just a regular guy. He's just a guy who has interests. He likes dad jokes and all that stuff. So I think people put him on this pedestal where he needs to be like superior. But generally, what people don't like about him over the years is like if someone insults him, he'll just insult them back, right? He'll just say, "Look, you suck. You're stupid," right? And people are like, "Oh, how could you do that? You're such a terrible person." But our average dude just does that. Right? When someone insults you, you just say something back. Like if it's on Twitter, you just say something back on them on Twitter. And I think people have a problem with that. But I do believe in two things. Number one, I believe that he cares about humanity. He actually wants to extend the life, the existence of humanity 30,000 years from now. Because it talked about in his bio that when he was trying to figure out what the meaning of life is, he realized he couldn't. And he realized human didn't have enough consciousness to figure that out. So he feels like, but the human beings 30,000 years later, they might have more consciousness and figure it out. So sees his job as extending human race to as long as possible. So that's why we can't be stuck on one planet. He thinks that us having less and less children over the generations, like for us, it's just like, hey, our friends are not having kids. What's the big deal, right? But he thinks like 4 generations of that, and there's going to be no more humans because as humans have more choice, they don't want children to burden their lifestyles, et cetera, et cetera. So I think he's generally caring of humanity. I do think that he's generally honest when he says things. That actually made a lot of money over the years because whenever he says something, people's like, oh, he's trying to like pump the stock and all that stuff. He's lying. And I'm like, sure, I'm just going to bet that he's honest. And I'm going to bet against people who think he's lying. And I always win money there. He can't predict the future. If he says something's going to launch in 2 years, then that means he's trying for it. It could be 4 years. But if he says this quarter, we're so close to becoming profitable, when he says that, it's always correct. So with that said, he just says what is on his mind. And go ahead.
So I was just going to say, it feels very Trump-like, right? If you hit me, I'll hit you back twice as hard. It does feel very Trump-like. But I want to go back to this point that you're saying. He does have, and I believe this too, he does have a true mission. He has a true purpose, which is extend the light of consciousness. I believe it. But again, I go back to my close personal friends who say, oh, he bought Twitter because of his ego. Or he's doing this because of his ego. And I'm like, hey, listen up. If this guy just wants to be rich, or no, he'll do this because he just wants to be rich. He wants to make a lot of money. And I tell him, look, if this person just wants to be rich, there are so many easier ways to accomplish that, to just be rich. He's taking on these tremendously difficult efforts right, with Tesla and with SpaceX. And he's putting his own money on the line to accomplish this and almost going bankrupt. But they don't see this. And you know what they'll say back? It's like, oh, Tesla took a loan from the government in order to accomplish this. First and foremost, that's fine. Many companies take loans from the government. And Tesla, I think, was one of the only ones that actually repaid the loan back with interest. But people don't see this. It feels like it's confirmation bias, right? It's people have already made a judgment in their mind. Elon Musk equals bad. And now they're looking for everything to confirm their original thinking. But why? Like, why do people hate him? I think it stems from what you said. It's he's speaking his mind and he's not politically correct. He's speaking his mind. Remember when there was, I don't remember it fully, but there was this crisis that happened in, I think, Southeast Asia, and people and children were trapped in a cave. And he calls this guy the pedo guy. Do you remember that incident?
Yeah, of course I remember
the pedo
that.
guy incident.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where a lot of this started. Like people really started turning on him with the pedo guy comment, and it felt like, you know, people were like, "Hey, look at this guy. He's a scuba diver and he's helping these children." Like, why are you insulting him? Do you remember that? I don't remember it fully.
Yeah.
But do you remember
So
that
basically, there's this guy, and he was on the dive team or something, and Elon Musk said, "Hey, I created a design for a little like drone-like submarine that could go help with the situation, or you could say like maybe it'll save the kids." And then this guy he first just publicly insults Elon Musk, like, this thing is trash, it doesn't do anything, it's just for your publicity,
I see,
but it's
yeah.
terrible, right? So, and this is what I talk about, like, if you see it as a normal human being, I think what he's doing is normal. Like, yeah, even if he bought Twitter for his ego, a lot of people do things for the ego. Oh, this person
Sure.
wanted to become a partner at their firm or a CEO because of their ego, right? Oh, this person bought any property this person bought a Lexus for their ego, right? Like, you don't hate on your friends who bought a Lexus, right? Like, why else would you be? You didn't buy a Lexus to save the world, right? You bought a Lexus for your ego. So even if he did that, there's nothing wrong with that. And just like you said, buying Twitter makes this. He was already the most popular person on Twitter, right? And buying Twitter just got him a whole bunch of mess. He could fail, and that's not gonna help his ego. Like, if he couldn't turn Twitter around and everyone hates Twitter, like, they'll see him as a failure, because so far every business he's touched was successful. Even his first business no one's heard about made he sold for $200 million, right? He has not had a business failure yet, and he just picked up this Twitter thing, and that's not gonna build his ego. So when you see a regular guy, if you tweet something and say, "Hey, I'm trying to help out," and someone says, "Oh, you're a douchebag, you're terrible," you of course want to say, "No, you're a douchebag," right?
Yeah.
That's just what normal people do on the internet. If you look at YouTube comments, if you Twitter, but people just see like, "No, you are apparently Elon Musk, so you need to be Mother Teresa," and I think that's where people get mad at him on.
Yeah. Right. It's because people do this all the time. It's just that he has so much reach, it amplifies it, and people are hating on him. But look, beyond that, you said he's successful with every business that he's touched.
Yeah.
Right. It seems like
everything started. Yeah.
Everything that he's touched, he's been successful.
I mean, even OpenAI that we haven't heard for a long time. You know.
Yeah,
we suddenly hear about it.
People want to bring him down. Everyone tries to say, "Oh, he's not successful. All he does is he's like a Trump. He just puts his name on things." You know, people online try to say, on Reddit all the time, they're like, "He didn't even found Tesla. He was just like an early investor." It's like, dude, he was the CEO for every single one of those launches. Right?
Yeah.
For the initial prototype. Go ahead.
This is literally just people want to hate him because
exactly.
if you said he was not important for Tesla's success today, that would be a complete lie, right? So they just said, "Oh, he was not the original because someone else talked to him and said, 'Hey, I have this electric car.'" And according to Elon Musk, he was already working on the electric cars before that, and then they just collaborated. But either way, even if he was not the original one, like he's like a Tony Hsieh for Zappos. Tony Hsieh was not the original creator.
Yeah.
Tony Hsieh was an investor, and then he became the CEO, and he made Zappos successful, right? We don't have to hate on Tony Hsieh for that. So you're saying like, "Oh, Elon Musk," like they said, he didn't invent the electric car. Other people did. So what? He made it successful, right? He got an electric car everywhere on the street now, and he wasn't the original creator. So what? None of these reasons are reasons to hate him. It's just like he was obviously instrumental with making Tesla successful, and now we see a lot of electric cars on the road. It's because of Elon Musk. It's not because of others.
No, for sure. And what I hope to eventually get out of our conversations is to try to, what I want to do is I want to spread more love and more understanding. And for people to understand, hey, just because, like you said in the beginning, just because this guy's a billionaire doesn't mean that he's not a human being. So, whoa. So with what we're talking about, it feels like they're just looking for reasons to hate. It's like they've already made up their mind. This person equals bad, and now they're looking for reasons to justify that. So how do you get out of that loop, right? And I go to this because now, if you look on Twitter, he's getting death threats, right? He created this new policy on Twitter. If you're doxing people and you're sharing their real-time locations, then you get your account suspended. In my personal view, makes sense. You can't be having people easily stalk you, especially a public figure like him. His children could be in danger. His life could be in danger. It's very dangerous, right? So he's creating this policy. Now he's enforcing it. But what he's doing, publicly talking about these issues, it's really putting a bigger target on him. And what he said is he feels the woke mind virus is evil for humanity, and he wants to solve it. And we've said he's been successful in everything, in all the businesses with Tesla to SpaceX. But with this, it looks like he's digging himself into a hole and it's not working. It just feels like people are more and more polarized. Do you feel the same way, or do you feel like he's going to turn this around? Because if his goal is to be more centric and to help people come together more, that's not what's happening right now.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is that, yeah, we don't really know where his limit is at, right? Just all the things he's done so far is successful. But we know he's a good engineer. People's like, oh, he doesn't know any engineer. He just tells smart people to do things. Like literally, his head of engineer in SpaceX says, for every other boss, like he can say whatever because they don't understand. But for Elon Musk, whenever he says something wrong, Elon Musk will correct him immediately. He says Elon Musk is just brilliant. Like people who work with him know his engineering mind, right? So he's done that well. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to add something to that. They're trying to bring him down. You're not the founder of Tesla, or you're not a real engineer. You're not in there coding. Or you can't do that. But at the very least, can you say he hires some really smart people? Can we at least say that?
That's what a good leader does.
Exactly. Can we at least, let's say he sucks as an engineer. Let's say he didn't found any of these companies. Can we just at least say he is really good at hiring the best people possible? Can we give him that?
The one testimony I'll say is Larry Page, co-founder of Google, said that when he dies, he wants his money to go to Elon Musk because he believes that Elon Musk is the person that takes capital and does the impossible things with capital. Elon Musk uses the word resource efficiency or something, like make the best use of resource optimization. He says, yeah, I can pay more taxes, but generally the government's proven to be terrible at resource optimization. Like they have a bunch of money and they don't do that much. And you want capital to go to people who have proven to take capital and make huge positive changes, right? So, and I think he believes that's himself, but I think his record shows that he does more with money than the government and many other companies. But Larry Page says that too, right? And all these leadership books say, yeah, bring the best people, bring people that are smarter than you. So even if you say he's not a good engineer, the people should say like, yeah, he's following those business books. But now he's trash because of that.
No, right. We're reading all these business books. We're trying to be the best leader. And then he comes into Twitter. And what does he do? First, what do you hear every time? It's like A people, right? A team members want to work with other A team members. Mm-hmm. And the worst way to work with A team members is to surround them with B or C list team members. So what does he do? He's getting rid of 50% of the workforce, probably more, that are not the A team that he wants. And good to great, he's focusing the company, right? He's taking over and he's focusing the company. And people are criticizing him. Oh, how are you going to keep Twitter alive with firing 50%? Look, he's a failure. He fired 50% of his workforce. What a failure.
Honestly,
what are you talking about?
I can tell you Twitter was extremely, extremely wasteful. Like my friend who worked there said they bought like super, super expensive furniture for all the floors, for like $5,000 each.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, they moved to a new office and they threw all of it away. They didn't even try to move. They just bought new, more expensive furniture. They were extremely wasteful. And Elon Musk comes in and he says, it's not like I love firing people. Like, this company is losing $1 billion a month, or so. I forgot the numbers, right? It's like, it's Twitter is so in debt that it doesn't even have revenue to cover the interest rate almost. So that's not Elon Musk's fault, right? He comes in and said, wow, this company's bleeding money because it's hired so many people at $400,000 a year. And he says, we need to get rid of many of them to stay alive, to not have Twitter shut down. That's not his fault. He's just trying to solve a problem. So, anyway, back to your question.
I
don't know if he can turn this. We don't know what's his limit at. If he can turn this, if he can manage social environments, if he can manage social platforms with people. He did become the most popular on Twitter. But what we've seen historically is that whenever he says he'll do something, it sounded impossible. Right, all that stuff.
You can't
right?
bet against Elon. That's right. You cannot bet against Elon.
Impossible. And for the first 2-3 years, he doesn't accomplish it, and that's when people say, "Oh, he's a liar." He said, we'll be able to do this by now in 2 years, and it's been year 3. So, haha, you're a liar, right? But he ends up like in 3-4 years does what humanity thought was impossible, right? And so some people focus on him like, "Oh, you missed your trajectory," but I think about, wow, I didn't know that was possible. How could Tesla create more cars than Ford, in a year? That seems impossible. And it took more than a year, but he did that. And so I think for the first 1 or 2 years, there's going to be a lot of that conflict, and people say, look, he couldn't turn around. He sucks. He's a loser. But he has the work ethics. He has the capability. He has the money utilization, brings in the good people. So I don't think it's impossible for him to turn it around. Now, the cultural stuff is also hard, right? But I'll put a word on that too about the woke stuff. I think the woke culture is based on good principles. It's based on like equality, equity, and respect. But I think people take those principles and start running a crusade on it to persecute and crush people who don't believe. So this is like they talk about the Catholic Church, right? I think Christianity, the principles, the values are good. Love people, be kind to people. When people hit you, don't hit back. Offer your other cheek. And then it turns to a crusade that goes around and says, if you don't believe in what I believe in, I'm going to kill you, right? That's the opposite of what the Bible says. And so I think the woke culture about everyone feeling respected and equity and all that stuff, I think is good. I think there's a whole movement of people going around and saying, if you don't say the exact words that I'm saying, then you're a terrible person. We're going to cancel you. And I'll just like Black Lives Matter. I believe Black Lives Matters a lot, but I don't agree with everything the Black Lives Matter movement and campaign is for. So, but if I don't chant it with them, suddenly I'm a racist person, right? And so I think that's the problem in society right now. This crusade that's going on.
Well, those are definitely the loudest voices, or at least maybe on Twitter, right? That are trying to cancel people. But I think going back to this idea of what can Elon do right now to unite people, I think that's what he wants to do, right? He wants to defeat the woke mind virus, as he says. And how do we do that? We don't do that by separating people more. We do that by uniting people. And how do we do that? So what he has been doing is going on a lot of talks with, I think, more conservative-leaning publications. I think so, from what I've seen. I think what he has to do is now talk to a lot of the more progressive-leaning, more left-leaning publications. Like go on CNN, go on CNBC. Go on all those late night talk shows like Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel. And these are people who insult Elon Musk on Twitter. And they say, he's full of crap. He's not about free speech. He just wants to be a tyrant. He just wants to be a fascist. And talk to them and talk to their audience. Because I think what he's been doing is talking to a lot of the more conservative audiences. And now he needs to talk to more of the progressive audiences. And I don't know why he hasn't done that yet. Like, why hasn't he just gone out there and honestly talk to people? And if they berate him, that's fine. He can just speak honestly and represent himself.
Well, maybe just conservative people are inviting him. It's like, hey, we'd like you to speak on our show. And the others like, no, we're not going to give you a platform. We're not going to.
Do you think so? It'd be crazy ratings, though. It would be insane, absolutely insane ratings.
Maybe. Yeah. And I don't know. Like, I haven't been following all his interviews, so I'm just based on what you said. Maybe
No,
he's doing
true.
both. Maybe he's doing both. But
Maybe.
the ones he does with conservative media, like it gets broadcast everywhere and everyone's upset about it. And the ones he's doing with left leaning ones, it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's one of those news items that people don't care about as much.
All of the impossible things that Elon has done has been engineering problems, right? Electric cars, battery storage, traveling to space. Now he's building tunnels, all these things. But now it's a culture war. It's different. It's not just an engineering problem. It's a culture problem. It's a culture challenge. To be honest, you know what I think he has to do? I think he has to sit down and do a podcast with Barack Obama.
Sure.
Him and Obama just chatting. You know, because I think don't left wing or progressive people still respect and love Barack Obama? I think they do.
Yeah, Barack Obama is one of the presidents that finished pretty much unscathed. Like, you know, people criticize some of his policies, but people think he's a good guy.
I love Barack. I mean, when I hear him talk, I'm like, man, this guy has charisma. I mean, when you hear Barack Obama talk, it's like the complete opposite of hearing Elon Musk talk. And that, no, I don't want to insult the man, but right, he doesn't have the same level of charisma and smoothness and ability to.
He have like Tourette's or something?
He doesn't have Tourette's. I think he's on the autism spectrum. I think he's on.
Yeah,
on
in a Saturday Night Live,
yeah.
When he was hosting it, he said he's the first person who has that, who's hosting, or at least the first to admit this.
So people berated him on that too. They said, "Oh no, if you look back through the years, there was this one other guy who did it." So I don't know.
Yeah, so therefore Elon Musk is a liar.
Therefore he's garbage. Yeah. So okay, but you're right. He is on the spectrum, and
he has Asperger's. He has Asperger's. Now, and this funny thing is, if you watch, there's a South Park episode that just kind of makes fun of that. It's like you can't control yourself. You just say like Eric Cartman from South Park. He's like, oh, I could pretend to have that and just cuss the teacher all the time. And there's like, oh, you have this disease, poor you. And he's like, yeah, that's so cool, right? And so if Elon Musk is, and why would he pretend he has that, right? He says everything else, right? Like if he has Asperger's, that just says he is clinically like ill, so he will say what is on his mind, right? So why are we so
well,
mad
I
at
think
that?
it is different from Tourette's, right? It's very different from Tourette's, but you're right. Like Asperger's, you're on, I think, the autism spectrum. Again, that's, I know surface level, we can do some more research.
I'm pretty sure in South Park, the one where it's like cussing uncontrollably, that's Asperger's.
No, I'm pretty sure that's Tourette's.
You're sure? Okay.
But
Well,
we
I'm
can
thinking
Google
for
it. Yeah, but either way, I'm pretty sure it's not Tourette's because Tourette's is the one where you shout things uncontrollably. And Asperger's is, I think it's on the autism spectrum. Maybe Tourette's is as well. I'm sorry, I don't know, and I'm sorry if I get it wrong. But we can check it online. I'm sure. If you're listening,
we're not claiming we're expert. We're just guys discussing ideas. So
but
we're not
back to my point. I think this is now a culture. He's entering a culture war, and if he wants to unite people, for people to be grateful and thankful, to people to be kind and loving to each other, I think first and foremost he needs to be kind and loving as well. Like you said in the beginning, right? He's just a normal person. You hit him, he hits back. If he wants people to be kind, then he needs to be kind himself. So he needs to look himself in the mirror and not try to like one up people, try to hit them back. It's like, no. But you know what I saw today? No, wait. I saw this thing. Yeah, so AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, tweets something, talking about how you're a public figure, an extremely controversial and powerful one. Take a beat and lay off the proto-fascism. Maybe try putting down your phone. And, Elon just says something cute. He's like, hey, you first. Haha. So he's like joking around. And that's who he is. He likes to joke around. It's like, hey, you put your phone down first. It's not something that he'll do. It's like, oh, you know what? Very serious guy. You're right. I apologize. I shouldn't be saying all these things. He's like, no, man. Like,
wasn't he one that told her also, I'm a shy guy, so I'll stop hitting
Yeah.
Yeah, because whatever people say to her, she's like, oh, they're just trying to pursue and hit on me. So when she says things to him, it's like, oh, I'm shy. But yeah, even in today's talk, like you said, oh, if someone hits him back twice, that's like Trump, right? That was an interesting comment because first of all, he's not hitting twice as hard back. He's just saying something back. And I think that's everyone I know, to be honest. But so you scaled it up to be a Trump. But if someone on the street said, you're the worst, especially if you're trying to help, and you're the worst person ever, it's like, whoa, you're not that great either. I think everyone does
Dude,
that.
I agree, man. I
And
agree.
honestly, if because people have all this like, oh, if I was a billionaire, if I was a millionaire, if I was a ruler, I wouldn't. Like, if you've ever been in a fight with a loved one and you've said things that you don't like, you've said things that were angry and spiteful, you're not better. Everyone has this problem. Everyone, and so I don't. For most people out there, I don't really dislike them. So people say, oh, I love this person. I'm a Trump fan, but no, I'm just saying like everyone, we should just be mild about it. You know, criticize what they're not good at, but we don't have to passionately hate them. So I think for people I know, when they get yelled at randomly, they'll feel upset. They'll say something back. You know, and that's Elon when he tries to help and people insult him. Like people would say things like, oh, he's from this apartheid period, which is a very racist period in South Africa, so he must be racist. In someone else's book, there was this part that says when he was young in school, he actually got into an argument because he was protecting a black friend because someone said a racist comment and he actually argued against them, and then he got bullied for it, right? And so just because he lived in that period doesn't mean he's actually racist. He's actually protecting a black friend, and he got from a racist friend, he got bullied. But then recently, I was just googling what's the game Elon Musk liked to play, and it's called Poly. I forget what it's called. Anyway, it's a game, right? And then this guy who writes this is Elon Musk's favorite game, and he says this game is about like building your kingdom and then trying to like conquest other kingdoms and rule over them. It's like, and of course, this would be the favorite game of a white person.
It's like literally
apartheid South
every
Africa.
the concept of every single game is like shooting, conquering, accomplishing, killing.
A lot of murdering, right? Yeah, and so it's literally like digging out crap to like say you're an evil person.
It's too much, man. It's honestly absolutely ridiculous.
I think this is what the world should do.
Tell me,
the world should look at all the people out there, the well-known figures, and find what they can learn from. I think Elon Musk has a lot of characteristics that you can learn from. Hardworking, right? And building innovation, taking risks, whatnot. And then things that you don't like, learn from. Just say, I'm not going to be like that. That's all. And
what's the thing? Right? Why are we pointing the finger? Why are we like, oh, you suck. You're a bad person. You're racist. Or you're a homophobe. Or you're this, you're that. And I'm better because I pointed you out, right? That's what you talked about. It's like this woke culture is I'm going to point out who is bad. And in that way, either maybe you don't look at me or I feel good about myself. I think a lot of people have talked about it. But how do we get out of that mindset? Right? I don't think we're in that mindset. Maybe I am in some ways. I hope to get out of it. But how do we get out of that mindset?
We're also like biased everyone's biased in their beliefs, right? But I think what we should try to constantly think about what is constructive for our own lives. Like hating someone else is not constructive. Like you can spend a lot of energy saying, "Oh, Trump is the worst," and I can tell you, like Trump is not a good person at all. But a lot of the things were over exaggerated. When he was winning the presidency the first time, people were like, "Oh, he's gonna have all the nuclear codes. He's gonna bomb all the countries with nuclear bombs." People were saying that it's like, "Oh, it's the end of the world." And when he was president for 4 years, that wasn't even alluded to. That was not even close to reality, right? So why spend all this energy, this emotion, this hate and passion on something that doesn't build your own life? You know, it's like, it's like, okay, well, everyone out there, there's something to learn from, and just learn from them. If you don't like it, just look at someone else. They're not your family. If they're your friends, stop hanging out with them. There's no point dedicating a lot of your energy into hating people.
You know, could it be that these people don't have their own home in order? Like these people don't have their own lives, their own place, their own finances, their personal relationships in order. So they look out, instead of working on themselves personally, they look outwardly to put that blame out there. So it's less agency, less self-responsibility. I am not in charge of my own life. The reason that my life sucks is because of you. All these people out there that are taking advantage of any systems that are in place or any cultures in place, any race, ethnicities that you have that I don't have, you have an advantage and you are the reason why I don't have the life that I want.
Yeah, I think this is they say the foundation of conspiracy theories, which is even though the world is multifaceted, lots of variables, like billions of people doing things, it's easy for the brain to think, oh, there's this one powerful government or a secret organization that controls everything. So all the problems stem from them. Because it's easy to process, right? And you can start hating one thing as opposed to saying, like, I don't know how to maneuver in this world. So, and I think this is about the victim mentality, saying, like, someone else behind the scenes has all the control and the power, and I'm just a victim of what they do. And sometimes you're a victim of happenstance, right? Just how the world is moving. But, you can't blame happenstance. You can't hate on happenstance. But you can blame on, like, the 1%. You can hate on the immigrants. You could hate on AI. You can hate on a lot of things. And I think it's just more constructive to say, how can it be better? Like, we call this landscape problems, like landscape challenges. When you play a game, you don't complain and hate on the landscape, right? You figure out how to overcome it, because that's the world you're born in. Like, if I was born as a tall alien with 6 arms, yeah, maybe I can do more things. But how is that relevant, right? I'm born with who I am, my genes, my height, my circumstances, and my goal is to play the hand that I'm given the best way I could, and it's to do it constructively.
Can I give a clear example of something that just happened to me today? So I tweeted out this picture of my daughter, who's 3 years old, that's washing the dishes with us. And I'm like, wow, look how amazing this is. She's washing the dishes. And I credit Micheline Duclef, who's the author of Hunt, Gather, Parent, one of the best parenting books I've ever read. And I credit her. I'm like, hey, Micheline, awesome. Like, I learned this from you. She liked it. She retweeted it. She's very happy. And then today I get a reply, and it's like 5 replies from this person. And this person seems very angry. I didn't understand what's going on. Like, this person seemed very angry. It's like, oh, like, those things that you learned, those things have been taught over the ages. You didn't learn anything new. Like, it's called the Montessori method. Or all these people. So in the book, she goes to these different ancient cultures, the Mayan culture, Inuit culture, Hadzabe culture, and she learns these parenting tips, and she teaches the world about them. But the person's like, oh, she went to these cultures. You know what? There's a lot of poverty in those cultures. There's so much poverty that these kids aren't being raised correctly. And I'm like, and I tweet back, I'm like, hey, are you angry? What's going on? And this person, then I think the crux of this person's argument is that Micheline went to these cultures and exploited them by taking their lessons and teaching the world. She's exploiting these cultures. And I'm like, what do you mean exploiting them? And she says, well, how much money did Micheline give back to the Mayan culture or the Hadzabe culture or to the Inuit culture? How much money are they getting back for the lessons that were taken from them? And I'm like, oh man, like, how could you think that way? I mean, to be honest, sharing your lessons with the world, I mean, that's a blessing. I feel like that's just so wonderful. Don't we want to share our lessons with the world? I mean, you teach the world about gamification. You can imagine if you held that on to yourself and you didn't teach that to the world. It's something very frustrating. I'm still on this Twitter thread with this person.
No, I think there's a general trend that's like, oh, you have money, you should be giving it to people, right? That's what Elon Musk too. Oh, you should give like, instead of buying Twitter, you should just give every poor person money instead, right? And actually, like, I believe what I saw was that, the UN said, hey, why are you wasting money? You just need this many $1 billion to solve poverty. And Elon Musk said, hey, if there's a plan to actually do it, I'm happy to do it, right? And if I remember correctly, he actually did do the donation. There's billions of dollars to the UN.
I had no idea.
Like
Who reported on that? We need a report on this. Like, he donated all that money. I didn't know.
Yeah, I saw there was that report on that. And so he did his best. But the people who are saying, like, oh, like, did they donate like $50 to the elementary school? Probably not, right? Like, everyone,
well, they're going to tell you, oh, I don't have billions of dollars.
Yeah,
right?
But you can give $2 to a homeless guy you walk by. Like, maybe they do, maybe they don't, right? And but my thing is just like, stop judging others. Just try to be a better person. And then some other people, maybe they do a few good things here, they don't do a few good things there. They're like bad and selfish there, and that's just the human condition. Humans, they do some good things and bad things, and if they do good things, then you should be joyous that this person's doing the right thing. If they don't do the right thing, if they're selfish, they're just being a person. Like, I'm sure we've been selfish before all the time.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
And yeah. So I don't think it's valid to just go around and say, oh, because you have money, you should be like a more holy person than the rest of us. Makes no sense. I feel
this is the culture war, right? And I feel this all stems to parenting. I mean, we talk about parenting all the time. And how do we raise children that have agency, responsibility, that don't look at themselves as victims? Okay, I want to say this, and hopefully, no, I'm just going to say it, and I don't mean to be super controversial or to hate on anybody, but I went to a Asian Community Association gala where Asian professionals were celebrating each other. Hey, fantastic, man. Celebrate yourself. I don't care. That's great. And I was there, I was listening to the people who won some awards give their speeches. Again, I'm not hating on anybody. I don't want to hate on people. But what I heard was, right, it's like, oh, it's so hard for me as an Asian American to be in a room full of old white people. Oh, it's so hard for me as an Asian American to do these things. I'm just glad that all these other Asian Americans are here to support each other. And to be honest, maybe I don't get it because I'm Japanese, but I'm also Peruvian. And culturally, I'm more Latin American. And maybe I just don't get it because when I was in high school, I never really belonged to the Asian group or the Latino group or to these other groups. I just was like my best friends back home are Persian, right? It's not Asian or Latino. So maybe I don't get it because I didn't have just a bunch of Asian friends growing up. But what stemmed out of it, I don't know what the answer is, but what stemmed out of it is that healthy for us to think, oh, it's so hard for me because I'm Asian, or it's so hard for me because I'm Hispanic, or it's so hard for me because of this? Like, do we want to teach our children that?
So that's the victim mentality, and that's basically, you're complaining about the cards you have as opposed to playing the right way. So, and sometimes people just want to find something to blame to be a victim. I'll give you an example. Someone, let's say in my company, oftentimes in meetings, right, in Zoom meetings, like they feel like they're talking and then people just kind of talk over her. And then obviously she has this feeling that, oh, they're doing it because I'm a woman and they don't respect me, right? But I can tell you that almost on a weekly basis, it happens to me too. I will talk and people are just having fun conversations, so they just talk over me. And then I even have to check if I was accidentally muted. And I'm like, no, I'm not muted. And I was like, hey, can you guys hear me? And after, like, oh yeah, we can hear you, Kai, right? And I know I'm well respected in my company. I'm the creator, I'm the founder. Everyone who joined is a fan of my work. I have the utmost respect and esteem in my own company, right? And I can fire them if I want to. I have power and respect and esteem. Yet people treat me that way. So I logically understand that they're not looking down upon me. They're just so into their conversation. But if I was less secure, I could say, oh, it's because of my race. It's because of something else, right? And you just have to kind of break out of that. Just like, no, it's like, hey, if I was a white person, maybe I'll have even more fans, right? I don't know, but that's irrelevant for me to think about. I'm born an Asian person, and I have fans of all sorts of demographics, and I just live my best life. I think that's the important thing. Not thinking that because of who I am, I'm handicapped. Just live the best life you can live.
Oh, for sure, right? Yeah, if I was white, if I was taller, if I was more muscular, if I spoke better, if I had a different accent, if I was a better public speaker, like all these ifs, we are dealt a hand, and like you said, we do the best with this hand that we're dealt with, and hopefully we can get more cards in the hand, right? We expand.
We are lucky that we actually exist, that we're alive, and we're a human.
Hey,
even if you're a human, right? If you won the lottery, you're born as a human. Half the world lives on less than $2, right? And so the internet is not a normal human experience, right? If you're born a human, the chances are you actually won't be able to access the internet, at least these videos and all that stuff. You're still in poverty. You barely have shoes. You barely have water. A lot of people die from diarrhea. So we're lucky to be like in a modern society that has food, has internet, has media. Like lots of people who are complaining about they're not rich, they have an Android phone or iPhone, right? They have a smartphone, right? So I think it's like, it's all a scale of who you compare with. But my whole point is that you just want to think about, not about what you're entitled for. And I think this is a thing about the movement in terms of, they talk about, there used to be this, at least, speaking from a guy's standpoint, right? There's like, from a guy like, boys are raised to try to be chivalrous, to take up responsibility, but then later on it's like, no, it's like, what that's like in a sense sexist, like everyone should just be the same, and women are oftentimes more powerful than you, more capable, and men are just like are actually they're equal or worse than women capability wise, but they are more violent and they're pigs and all that stuff, right? And so men stop feeling like, oh, I need to be responsible and I need to really carry weight and take hits, right? It's about, oh, then if I'm not responsible for anything, then I'm just looking at what I'm entitled for, my rights. And when you think about what you're entitled for, that's when you feel like a victim, like, oh, why don't I get this? Why don't people treat me with respect? And I think that's a trend that I think is not good, which goes back to your point. Like, I think we need to teach our children to, yeah, there's a lot of messed up things in the world, but instead of feeling sad all day and complaining and hating, just like still live the best life, improve yourself, love people, be compassionate, help people, and improve your skills, and just do these things, and you'll have less and less things to complain about, really.
So absolutely. I was driving today and something hit me. It was that I am really grateful for the life that I have. And I think practicing gratitude is important. I need to teach my children to practice more gratitude. We can talk in details how we do that at home later. But this is what I was thinking. I was driving and I was thinking like, oh, how can I make more money? I want to make more money. I want to generate more income, build that wealth for my family, generational wealth. And then I stopped myself and I'm like, I need to be more grateful about what I have right now. And what came to mind was, look at someone like Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, super successful, super hardworking. Oh my God, he had everything. He had finals MVPs. He had just won an Emmy or Oscar. I don't remember which one. So he had transcended not just the NBA, but now he had transcended into entertainment. And then look what happens.
Helicopter crash.
Not just him, but his daughter too.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap! You could be a billionaire. I think he was a billionaire, but at least multi-millionaire, have everything, and then you just lose it like that. And I feel that I need to practice more gratitude. The world should practice more gratitude. I read something interesting the other day that said, oh, I think it was in a book. Okay, I'll try to find the book and link to it. But it was said, gratitude is a special emotion in that you can't feel angry or sad or another emotion when you're feeling grateful. So maybe to everyone listening who hates Elon Musk, try to practice and feel grateful for a thing that Elon Musk has done. You can say something like, wow, I am really grateful that Elon has pushed sustainability and electric vehicles because I really care about climate change. And I'm grateful that Elon is helping with that. Something like that. And maybe it'll be helpful because supposedly, from what I read, you can't feel hateful and gratitude at the same time. Like you just feel that gratefulness.
Okay, so I'm going to have a difficult challenge for you based on what you just said. But two, just for example of that, for Elon Musk, right? Even if you really don't like him, you can think, oh, I'm grateful that because of Elon Musk, I get to drive an electric car from Volkswagen because they feel like they need to make electric cars, right? That's another thing. Yeah, because I remember when I first was looking at Tesla and I was an investor in Tesla, everyone was saying, "Oh, electric cars are a failed business. None of the big companies will ever make it because it sucks. No one would do it, and that's why Tesla will die." And then when Tesla got better and better, suddenly they said, "Oh, now all the big car companies are going to make electric cars, so it's going to crush Tesla," right? And so they really was driven by Tesla's success that they were doing this. So, but let me pose you a challenge, right?
Okay, bring it.
You just said someone like Elon Musk. If you hate him, think about one thing you're grateful about. Yeah. Try to do that with Trump.
All right, let me think. Okay, I am grateful for Donald Trump because when I graduated college, I would watch The Apprentice.
I was thinking that.
You were thinking that? And he was such an inspiration. I mean, to be honest, watching that show, I was like, oh my God, this guy, he's amazing. And look at all these MBA students. I wanted to then do my MBA afterwards too. But look at all these MBA students and these entrepreneurs. I want to be like them. So I want to thank Donald Trump for inspiring a whole generation of entrepreneurs and business people.
That's good. Yeah. That was a good show.
It was a great show. Yeah, first season, maybe first 2 seasons. I loved it. It was a fantastic show. But with that, we wanted to chat for maybe 10, 20 minutes. We're now at 45, close to 45 minutes. I love talking to you, Yukai Chow. I think this was a good conversation. I got a lot out of it. Hopefully hopefully everyone listening to this gets a lot out of it as well. If you have any questions or comments, hit us up on Twitter or hit a comment up on YouTube.
Yeah, and if we said anything you hate, you have two choices. Both are fine. One is to practice this, let's not hate. But yeah, if you want to vent all your hatred on us too, that's fine. Just say we are the worst people. We suck. We should be canceled. Like I recently played a game where someone offered me to commit suicide because I was not playing very well. And I've seen people say your family should get cancer. So if you want to hate, just hate. But if you feel like there's lessons to be learned and you want to improve your own life, I think breathe in. You can disagree with us. That's fine. You can disagree with everything we say, but don't let us affect your day. Don't waste your energy. Just find positive things to use and improve your life on. So I think that if there's one thing we have with this long discussion, it's about find positive things, improve your own life. Don't spend all your time and energy just hating other people because it gets you nowhere.
Yeah, man. Love it. All right. Thank you, Yukai. Let's do the next one soon.
Yeah. Talk soon.